Welcome to Rpgibberish, the podcast for RPG lovers by RPG lovers. It's that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. E3, where all these wonderful games get announced and plenty of surprises all around. And with me, with this momentous occasion, of course, is the other master of Rpgibberish, Aerodynamish. How you going, man?
Hey, welcome back, guys. Very excited to talk about some E3, some of the games, some of the RPGs. So, yeah, excited.
It was an interesting E3 because it could have been the best. I'll get into reasons why it wasn't, but it was one of the best E3s, due to one company in particular just coming out of nowhere and granting wishes, it seems. So, which I will touch upon very soon. But if I basically just to put you on the spot, what would you be your quick analysis of this E3 like compared to others before it?
You know, I going into it, I was having the feeling that this was going to be a modest E3, just okay. Now, I will say that during the event that, I ended up watching a couple of press conferences, there were some major shockers which I was not expecting, but they are not very personal shockers for me. They're games for IPs that I've never played or I'm not very interested in. So, but I do know how much excitement that is for some of the people out there, and I relish in that because it shows that with this E3, there's you know, this sort of cult following, and the people are letting their voices be heard, and they're being listened to right now. I have a feeling that companies and publishers, they try to take more risks, and I see it happening over the last couple of years. We saw that PSX with Codens, and now we see it here with some of the announcements. I have a feeling it's looking good to get some of your favorite series back out again instead of just the cookie cutter sequels that we see for all these major franchises. And there was a surprising amount of Japanese and also RPG stuff at E3. So, it was solid. I was missing that super wow factor for myself, though. Maybe in a little bit, but at least we all know what's coming from me, and it's Persona. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about one game in particular on Nintendo's end in great detail because yeah, we'll talk about that more. But
Definitely.
I do want to start the beginning off. Yes, and I use that word directly because the first shots fired at E3 that really wowed everyone was certain fan base that Nintendo has neglected for a very long time decided to throw an olive branch their direction with the official release of Mother 1 on Virtual Console. And
Wow. Just
yeah,
that blew me away. That was quite a surprise, but yeah, no, go for it.
well, of course, it for anyone that's played Earthbound Zero, it's kind of lessen or blow, but more Mother fans essentially want more people to play the series, and with this, um, that can happen. And of course, with a system that's sort of slightly starving for games like the Wii U, it's just a nice little entry where it's a game that the general public haven't had access to, and with the Wii U, they can now play it. So pretty cool.
Yeah,
What's really funny is that was kind of one of the first games we played for our quote unquote weekly challenge back in the early days of RP Gibberish. And I think I got like 8 hours in, and something else drew me away. But like, I have a feeling if I downloaded that for the Wii U, I'd probably be able to beat it because mostly any virtual console game I seem to download on my Wii U, I beat. So I think that's the way I'm going to do it.
yeah, no, exactly. I remember that was one of the weekly challenges, and over the years, I remember having fun playing it. Um, but I, when it was announced, I was very interested for two reasons. Of course, people were now able to play it, and but the other thing that I said immediately was, this is going to be it's going to be interesting because a lot of people will get hyped up to play more than just Earthbound on the Virtual Console, but Mother One or Earthbound Beginnings, or even Earthbound Zero, if you want to call it by the fan translator's name, it is not a fantastically well polished game. It is a very archaic
Yeah.
Famicom RPG, and I have a feeling that Nintendo still left the very crude encounter rate and low experience drop rates intact, which when I played Earthbound Zero, the ROM came built in with experience multiplier. So I believe it was 2 times or even 4 times multiplier, which made going through the game a lot more faster and a lot more fun without having to go through that very rough retro Famicom grind that is in a couple of games. Like I can't stand the original Final Fantasy because that is just ridiculous on the NES. I played it on the GBA and I played it on the PS1 and PSP. That's the one I beat. But you know the Famicom RPGs can be pretty tough. So if you're out there listening to this and you love Earthbound, just know that you're getting into the predecessor. You're getting into a game that came out about 6 or maybe even 7 years before Earthbound, and it was still in that very early Famicom 80s RPG phase where some of these games were just they were great for that time, but they have not really aged all that well. So you really got to keep that in mind. However, this announcement though is shocking in the fact that this will considerably bump up the fact that we will potentially see Mother 3 or Earthbound 2, if they're going to be calling it that, in the
Yeah,
future.
that was the biggest thing for me is the fact that they took a game they never released back in the day, which it was the common knowledge that Nintendo didn't want to touch anything they didn't localize back in the day. With this, the gates are open, anything's free game, and for a devout Fire Emblem fan like myself, um,
Exactly.
they have they have the GBA Virtual Console, they've got the DS Virtual Console. Nothing's stopping them from putting the Binding Blade on the GBA Virtual Console. Nothing's stopping them putting new Mystery of the Emblem on the DS one.
I'm
That's
even
what
going
I'm.
further, why not get Genealogy of Holy War as well?
Yeah, it's so funny. People ask me, why didn't you include Genealogy of Holy War? It's like because of that one scene in the game, and you can't take it out. So
Uh,
even if it's implied, it's still a very tough thing to kind of deal with when it happens in the game.
I haven't
Although
played it yet, so
it creates an awesome Game of Thrones type moment, and it really puts it out there as one of the best stories, the darkest fucking story in Fire Emblem history, that's for sure. But yeah, see, with Nintendo, with that, they wouldn't know what to do with that. So, and Thracia is a diabolically hard strategy RPG, so that too would be taken into consideration. So those would be the two hardest Fire Emblem games to pretty much localize. But we'll see
yeah,
what
but
happens.
I don't see any need at all to do the original on the Famicom because that's remade on the DS. I don't see a
Yeah,
need to do Mystery of the Emblem because there's new Mystery of the Emblem and Gaiden.
yeah.
Well, yeah, let's not talk about Gaiden that much. But it boosts the chances not only for Mother 3, which it would be a fantastic win to see Mother 3 just released on the Wii U Virtual Console. It doesn't end for me there because I would still really like to see them just do a proper Mother collection or Earthbound collection and port all three on a 3DS on a cart and just treat it well. Do a nice box set release, maybe a Mr. Saturn plushie in there, and just take that risk just once, and just do something very passionate for the fans that they have been missing out on. Just these two Ness and Lucas amiibos, they're fine, but just do something special. It's very interesting to see that we have to rely on the fans like Fangamer to do like Mother handbooks, etc., which I recently picked up. But it's very interesting. This boosts the chances not only for Mother indeed, which I'm very hyped for, but indeed it also boosts the chances for Fire Emblem. I don't really know what else there could be, but especially Fire Emblem, that is definitely something I would like to see. I still have, Sacred Stones on my 3DS Ambassador program, and recently found out that that's actually not available on the 3DS. I think it is on the Wii U though, but
Yeah.
there just needs to be they need to port more of this. And isn't Radiant Dawn on Wii U Virtual Console right now?
I haven't checked lately the Wii Virtual Console on the Wii U, so I'll have to see that. That'd be silly though, because it's so
Yeah,
funny because so many people have not played Path of Radiance. I know a lot more people have played Radiant Dawn, but they didn't get their hands on Path of Radiance.
yeah,
So,
exactly. So that is definitely something that I would like to see as well, is to for them to, you know, there's been a lot of increase in the Fire Emblem fan base because of Awakening. And while I really relish in that and that there are new fans coming into, uh, they need to make these older games available for them, and some of them are really ridiculously rare and difficult to find and expensive. So with Wii U Virtual Console, they're able to get a hands on them. But on the other hand, on the flip side, I do warn a lot of people that the Fire Emblem games before Awakening and maybe even before Shadow Dragon are ridiculously difficult and are
mm,
no cakewalk. There's no save points in between. There's no casual mode. You will be
no.
frustrated. So that is definitely something I always throw out there. But they should at least offer the chance, and just force them to buy it, because I still know that there's not a lot of people that do piracy and stuff. But you have the means to play all the Fire Emblem games in English now. So um, except for the newest one, but we'll get to that. So, you know, just
Mm.
having it on your systems on the Wii U and especially on the 3DS, especially maybe not Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, but just put it on there and that should be good. But I'm interested. It's good what Nintendo is doing here, and it was a nice little announcement to see Earthbound Beginnings.
And of course, around the same time, of course, not really sort of too much RPG related, but it is related to Fire Emblem. Is of course Roy made it back to Smash Brothers, which um, luckily I actually had enough to download him, and I was pretty much playing as him for like a good 2 days, and he is a great character. It's cool that they announced the Roy amiibo, and it's kind of a slap in my face because I just recently got all the Fire Emblem characters and now they're making me got one more to get eventually. So, and of course for you, of course, there's going to be the Lucas one that you can get for your mother collection. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
The amiibo craze is crazy. They announced like 15 of them. I've already decided that I really just want the Earthbound ones and I want the Fire Emblem ones,
yeah.
excluding Robin. So, I hope to get a Lucina at some point. I hope to get a Roy and then Ness and Lucas. We'll see. Um, but, it's fun that they announced them for fans and for hardcore amiibo collectors.
Yeah, and of course, RPG related, it was nice to see the World Championship, and of course, it was nice to see all the people competing. But of course, beyond that, very close in the tail of all that happening, Bethesda actually had their press conference, and a couple of things happened. I will be honest, I will be deadly honest. There was one announcement of the Bethesda conference that made me roll my eyes in disgust. The fact that they want to compete with Blizzard for that Hearthstone money, and yes, they're creating a virtual online card game for the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. That is just absolutely ridiculous that they throw that in there. I'm not a really big fan of Bethesda anyway, so yeah, not for me.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of a little bit shameless, but I don't know. But however, they spent a good deal of time in the conference talking about Fallout 4. And when it comes to Elder Scrolls and like the later Fallout games, I don't hate them. I actually admire the dedication and the scope of those games from afar. But there's something that always happens in those games where I reach a point and then I want to play something else. And it's not because I hate the game, it's because I don't know. There's just something about them. But I do like the look of Fallout 4. I think it's a great looking world. It takes place in Boston. I think the visuals look amazing. I think what you can do in the game is amazing. You can customize all your weapons. You can customize like your power armor. You can rebuild certain settlements, and the combat system looks a lot more polished, and all around it looks fantastic. So I'm gonna consider it. I won't need to buy it because my dad's a huge fan of Bethesda, so he'll definitely get Fallout eventually. So Fallout 4, so I'll just borrow it off him if I'm ever curious.
Yeah, the thing with that is, I rolled into Fallout when Fallout 3 launched. I knew almost nothing about the game back then. I picked it up. I had fun with it for about 40 hours. I did a lot of exploration. There were some things about it that just made me cringe. You know, like the loot that you can't loot everything, but the game is so centric on looting. The side quests were nice, and the game was very rough around the edges. And then I did a lot of side quests, and then I moved back into the main quest, and I was like, you know, this is it. You know, I was very disappointed in the end. Never picked up New Vegas, and I go into Fallout 4 just not very interested. This is one of those announcements where I know a lot of people are very happy that it's finally continuing after so many years. But you know, we'll have to wait and see if it's that typical Bethesda design that also turned me off on Skyrim after playing it for like maybe 5 to 10 hours. So, you know, I of course I don't have it on my wish list right now, but if the game launches really well and a lot of people talk fondly about it, and you know, it interests me more once I see reviews and impressions from from you guys, then maybe I'll pick it up for the cheap. But other than that, great announcement, but not really for me.
Yeah, like I said, when I can get my hands on it, I'll just give it a whirl. But yeah, and of course that blew everyone by storm. I do like the fact that they've got a special edition Pip-Boy where it's got basically a replica, and you put your smartphone in there, and you can download the app, and you can use it as an inventory. That is very cool. Practically, I wouldn't use it because you'd be, your mind would be on two screens at once. So I'm just happy to use the inventory screen in the game. But I guess for those die-hard Fallout fans, they can do that and immerse themselves more in the game. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm still not used to this whole second screen thing except for the DS. But
mm.
I see it happening more that there's apps. My nephew uses like Destiny, and he can swap in and out his weapons on the spot from his phone. So it's working, and people are adopting that. So great for that. And that Pip-Boy, but it looks nice for fans.
Hmm. So with that out of the way, let's get to the main event. Sony, who
Yeah.
suddenly won the hearts and minds of a lot of people across I was about to say the universe, but I don't know if there's any gamers on Mars and Saturn and Neptune and beyond. So
You never know. You never know.
never know. But yes, they had a fantastic lineup full of surprises and fantastic new IPs. Now, it's really strange because there's a game called Horizon Zero Dawn, and a lot of people saying it's an action RPG, and I'm like, from what I've seen, it's more like an action adventure game, more in the same sort of vein as Uncharted and those type of games, and that's
Mhm.
not a bad thing. It looks fantastic, and I like the fact that the world before them, the ancient ones, were pretty much our civilization. So it takes place in the future where I guess the apocalypse has happened, or just at least the crumble of civilization happened, and they're fighting all these machines. And I thought it's a pretty cool game. I'd probably give it a try when it comes out. But yeah.
Yeah, it looked interesting, but again, I go into action adventure games really reserved because I've been burned out on this genre for a long time. It's never been for me. So while it looks very interesting, and of course it's made by my Dutch, pretty much only massive Dutch company that makes games, Gorilla. We'll see more in the future. I can always pick it up, of course, but I have to see a little bit more.
Yeah. And of course, we were jumping the gun because one of the biggest first surprises there. Once again, not an RPG, but a entry from a much beloved studio, of course. Something that was considered vaporware came out of hiding, and of course, they showed off the Last Guardian. And I actually now this wasn't a criticism of the game. It was just me being honest, and I don't have a problem with it. The game doesn't look like it's changed that much since it was unveiled all those years ago, and that's not a problem because I thought the game looked fine originally, but I'm yet to see sort of like the changes to the game uh, that basically the PS4 presented, when they sort of switched to that platform. It still looks like a PS3 game to me, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're a fan of Ico, this looks more to be a spiritual successor to Ico than Shadow of the Colossus. So yeah, pretty cool. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, I apologize for some of the fans out there. I think that Ico and Shadow of the Colossus are extremely overrated. Um, so I'm not really into The Last Guardian. But pick it up if you're a fan. Maybe I'll pick it up on a cheap. But at least it lives, so that's good to see.
Alrighty, so we finally got our sort of non-RPG games out of the way. Let's get into it. And first up, a game that kind of made a lot of Final Fantasy fans just a little concerned. Of course, they released this new game called World of Final Fantasy, where they didn't release too much information, but you have these two kids, and they basically came onto the screen in chibi form. Then they transformed into characters that looked like they belonged to a Kingdom Hearts game, and then they joined various other characters of the Final Fantasy franchises, and they have old school ATB battles, and that was pretty much all that was shown. Really, no major story elements, no nothing. It's just yet another sort of fan service Final Fantasy game for everyone. And I know there's a lot of people's like, "Wow, this is so new." It's like, no, this Square's given out tons of Final Fantasy fan service games. Like you recently, there's Record Breaker, you had Dissidia, and Kingdom Hearts was the granddaddy of all the fan service, Final Fantasy games. So nothing new. So
Yeah, I tuned out very fast when I saw that trailer. You guys know me. My love for Final Fantasy is completely gone. It just is. And I'm just treating it as just another series out there. World of Final Fantasy did nothing for me. Like, that's not even announced. Final Fantasy Explorers did nothing for me. And Mobius Final Fantasy does nothing for me. It's just these cookie cutter, spin-offs and sequels that might have some redeeming qualities, but they're all just there for one sole reason, and that's just more money. Just it looked cute, and maybe it's fun to play, but yeah, whatever. I don't understand why this needs to be on the PS4. It's of course PS Vita as well, so it's just going to be a quick port. At first, I thought they were going to show Dissidia, that's going to be in arcades, but that didn't happen.
yeah.
So, you know, uh, check it out if you're interested. But I tuned out very fast for World of Final Fantasy.
And I wish I could sort of switch off the Final Fantasy series, but Square decided to basically give me an offer I couldn't refuse with the next announcement, which has been long, long, long awaited. As you know, Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy game. And yes, it finally happened. No, 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 that so-called PS4 Steam version with upscaled original graphics was not the main version of the game they wanted to sell you. There is in fact a remake of Final Fantasy VII coming for the PS4. Once again, like the 15 trailer, how the narrator worded it, they were speaking directly to the fans, having fun with them, mentioning stuff like the reunion. If you played Final Fantasy VII, you all know about the reunion. And of course, when they said the reunion will bring joy and it may bring fear, I'm like, wow, Square, you really know how people feel about your games. So I like the teaser because that's exactly what it was. It was a teaser. It wasn't really so much of a trailer. It was really nice to see Cloud and Barrett like roaming around the slums of Sector 7. So I was like, yeah, cool. For anyone that wants to know, this is not going to be just a nice sort of like visual remake. Nomura is hellbent on recreating Final Fantasy VII, retelling the story. It's probably going to have a new battle system, which is the only part which has really got me concerned. But who knows? Because I actually like 15's battle system. So if they make something entirely new, I'm all for it. Just don't put a stagger bar system in there. For the love of God.
Oh man,
So
oh, don't get me started, man. I have a feeling they're going to making it a action RPG. Oh man, I seriously doubt if I'm gonna buy it if they really turn it into an action RPG. I've read some people they're like fine with that. Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. I
no,
can't do that.
I really want them to have the ATB system, but I don't want them to be like still like. Of course, in the early Final Fantasy games, they lined up in a row, but they're like stuck in that row. I want it to be more dynamic, where they're moving about the battle, but they're still sort of got the ATB system. That's what I kind of wanted. But
Hmm. I would like to see that as well. That would be nice. But yeah, I agree that it needs to be a little bit more dynamic. I'm just going to, you know, Final Fantasy 13.
We'll see what happens with the battle system, but I like the fact that they're going to overhaul the story. Maybe there'll be more scenes in Midgar. Would be cool. I hate the fact that the one thing the fans were concerned of all was the fucking cross-dressing scene to the Honeybee Inn, and I'm like, are you really fixated on that part of the game? That's just one minor part for me. Mind you, most of the parts that I only remember is just all the bouts with Sephiroth and mostly all the heads of Shinra. So I guess this part, I don't know, take it as you will, whatever parts of the game you liked. Although I really did like the Gold Saucer segment as well. So, and I did like Cosmo. I just love that game in general. I mean, there's no one moment that I really love and stand out, but the fact that that's the concerning part, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. Why you should really get hung up on that? I just really look forward to seeing all these classic moments, in true great HD fashion, being all voice acted. Probably update the dialogue because we all know how badly translated the PS1 version was. So I think that the story will bring a lot more dynamic to it, and I really hope that they will indeed throw in some more story scenes, some more interaction, maybe a couple of new characters. It doesn't need to be a one for one remake. They look at Persona 4 Golden. They added in a whole story arc with this new character throughout the entire game, and that worked and it fit. So they can do that.
Yeah, the one of the biggest concerns, and it was half a concern, and a lot of people wanted to do it, was Nibelheim's going to be very interesting now in the remake because of Crisis Core. And I'm wondering how much they're going to use of Crisis Core with this remake. And I'm predicting either in the end of 2016 or 17, I sincerely believe that they're going to re-release Crisis Core for the PS4. I just have this feeling. They did it with Birth by Sleep for the 2.5 collection. I have no doubt they'll probably do it for Crisis Core.
Hmm.
So we'll see what happens.
Didn't think about that actually. It would be interesting to see. Um, the one thing I do want to bring up about Final Fantasy VII though is, you know, I talked about this in my own video as well. It's a little too late, and now I see a lot of news announcement coming in. Yeah, no, we were working on this before we were announcing the PS4 release. I don't believe that at all, because if anybody with a little bit of shred of sense would have thought about what they were doing at PSX, they would know how fans would be outcried at building that hype during that event and then just doing the port. So again, I feel that Square Enix is being reactive here, and now they're just trying to make amends for that pain they caused me personally, and that's why I'm not very hyped for it. And also, I'm very realistic. This game is not going to come out to this year, next year, 2017, 18, maybe 19, because we have Final Fantasy 15 still not dated, Kingdom Hearts 3 is still not dated, and Nomura is doing this after those. So, you know,
Yeah, he's got a bit of a reputation and infamy, really. I actually like Nomura as a game developer. As a head of a project, I think he works better as a games designer than someone that works with other people. Do you have that feeling that he hasn't really got that great management skills because his games always get knocked back more severely than most other RPG projects? So I don't know,
yeah,
I
I
get
have a
that feeling.
feeling that he is, he just keeps building on scope and scope and scope creep, as we call it in the profession, software development. He just keeps piling on new features and stuff, and perhaps he's also very, how do you call it, perfectionistic, and spends a lot of time on tweaking elements where he should maybe focus on other aspects which aren't done yet. I don't know, but he indeed drives better as a designer than as somebody who is directing and has that managerial duties as well. You saw that, Kitase, which that is a true shame. Yoshinori Kitase, he had that under control. He did such a great job during the PS1 era together with Sakaguchi. But
Hmm.
then Kitase stepped up and did a lot more higher up Square Enix stuff instead of focusing on the actual game. So that is one major loss. Sakaguchi is one major loss, of course, that really changed up the flow and release cycle of these games as well.
Yes. Like I said, I will reiterate saying I love Nomura as a storyteller, except for one part of Birth by Sleep that made no fucking sense, which is the character of Vanitas. I'm like, ah, I mean, seriously, what you doing there,
Yeah,
Nomura?
well, Kingdom Hearts in general has become super complex, and
Yeah,
after all these many years and not having played any Kingdom Hearts game in the last, what is it? Well, it's more than 3 years now. Dream Drop Distance is the last Kingdom Hearts game I played.
yeah,
Just that story is so complex, and I hope they are able to bridge the gap well for three. But yeah.
yeah. But yeah, most of the people, of course, for Final Fantasy 7, they're excited. It's their dream come true. A lot of people 30 to 40 were the most emotional, rightfully so, because that was the target audience back in the day. I played FF7 when I was like, it was a 2000 and I think it was 12. So, and that was a game I played to death for 2 years straight. So, I'm looking forward to seeing this new vision for Final Fantasy 7. So I shall be down for it. However, that wasn't the only game that that kind of really made people emotional, and this for me was the biggest surprise of E3. Once again, not really an RPG, but it can be considered it. But it doesn't have any traditional RPG elements. But there's a lot of exploration RPG elements in this series, and I never thought I'd see a sequel to this in my lifetime. And of course, thanks to the good Sir Tier, he helped me play the first game last year
No
and I
problem at all.
beat
Happy to help out there.
and I beat it, and it was the best experience on the Dreamcast. Of course, I'm talking about Shenmue, and I've met a lot of people in the YouTube sphere that they don't just like Shenmue, they love it. It's like something they're attached to. And when Shenmue 3 got announced, it was really funny because I love the soundtrack to Shenmue. I know all the tracks. So when they did the Kickstarter segment and the Shenmue theme played, I was paralyzed. I was like, "Are you joking?" And I was like, "Do not fuck with my emotions right now." And sure enough, Yu Suzuki came on and said that they're going to do a Shenmue 3 Kickstarter, and all the dreams came true. And sure enough, the thing was the base Kickstarter goal was done in 9 hours, which was $2 million. I just
9 hours. Wow, just shattered every record. Just amazing. I just looked it up. It's now only at 3.5 million. So in the last like 5 days, they only got 1.5 million. But you
yeah,
know,
that's the nature of Kickstarter. Usually it peters out, so people only doing like 50,000 to 100 million, and in Shenmue's case, it's kind of like they peter out to about 500,000 a day. That's nothing bad. So I'm really happy for everyone. They've wanted Shenmue 3 for so many years. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens. Now, there was some controversy, but I don't think it's that much of a deal. I kind of expected it. The Kickstarter funding is not going to fund the production of the game. Basically, they've said in an interview Sony wanted to do this to gauge the interest to see if it was worth it, and Sony's going to be putting up most of the bill of the production, which is going to be amazing. Now, a lot of people are concerned because back in the day, like these games cost $70 million to make. They were like at the time they were unheard of. That amount of money was unheard of to make a video game. And of course, Sega actually never made a profit off those games, which was sad, of course. But they were so critically acclaimed, they were always stuck in the back of people's minds for the rest of their lives. So, and a lot of people who are now like the heads of the gaming industry and a lot of news sites and a lot of developers, a lot of them played Shenmue, and it means a lot to them. So, this was kind of a wish come true for a lot of people. And I basically said it best on my Facebook wall. Like, yes, the base goal is done, but you want to like expand the game. Just tell them what you want. Like, put it out there, like what you want. And I would love to. I can't wait to when I get to that stage where I can play free because I'm actually struggling to play 2 right now. No, the game's not hard. My disc is fucked. So, so I gotta get that fixed before I can get like 100% excited for 3. But I'm really, really excited for Shenmue 3, and I'm more happy about people because this might seem weird. I spent like 6 hours one day just watching people's reactions. It was like 200 Christmases and birthdays come at once for them. And some of the reactions were downright funny. Like, you see the game trailers reactions? Like,
no.
professional reporters lost their shit. Like they jumped up and down the table like monkeys. It was hilarious. And there's this one female reporter didn't understand what Shenmue was, and she was there in the middle, like, "What the fuck's going on?" And these three other guys, it was like the number one game they've always wanted from their childhood. So like they forgot that they were reporters at game trailers for 1 minute, and they were just like, and it was actually cool because it kind of humanized them in a way. It kind
Yeah.
of showed that hey, they are gamers foremost, and I think that even the guy behind the camera was losing it. He screamed out, "All our dreams are coming true." So, yeah, so if anything, Sony just kind of brought back that positivity in the gaming community that's kind of been kind of hidden of late. So, good job for them. And it was like a home run with the free games for most people. So, um, yeah, fantastic. You know, I think one
Oh,
of the funniest comments. So, sorry to cut you off, but one of the funniest comments I said, "Wow, Sega wasn't at E3 and they did the best thing they did in ages by doing nothing." Oh shit!
Yeah, no, this is of course a fantastic announcement. This is what I was talking about in my intro, is that this is showcasing your voice and show that love for a series and get that game that you really want. Now, you know me, I've never played Shenmue.
Yeah,
I look into this one with a lot of reservations because I am concerned that I won't like it because it's like an open world game and you can, in my opinion, I apologize for using these terms, but you waste a lot of time just doing nothing. I know that I do love a great story in video games, and I know Shenmue have, at least that's what I've heard, have great stories in them. So, I have to look into them. But the thing now is, I can't really play them, maybe emulation on my PC, but I would like to see that Sega also does a remaster of the first two,
yes.
or at least a quick dirty port that we're able to just boot up the games on our PS4 maybe. That would be interesting because that way, a lot more people can actually get more invested in these, except for just the people who played these games over the many years. But
And
yeah,
a couple of years ago, it was rumored that they were in production because Sega was doing their line of Dreamcast HD games, and they were supposed to be the next one, and then they quickly got buried. And now I'm wondering, did they get buried because of all the secrecy? Who knows? And they probably jumped ship to the PS4. We'll see
yeah,
what happens.
about that secrecy, it's a great announcement, don't get me wrong, but who in the hell permitted Yu Suzuki himself to tweet out a forklift picture one day before E3? Like, who greenlit that? That makes no sense.
Well, see, there's been the thing was is Shenmue fans take any sort of rumors with a grain of salt because they've been burned so many times. Like every time E3 comes around, they hear rumors, but they don't get hyped up because they usually get disappointed. So Yu Suzuki tweeting the forklift, it's cool, but they know they don't want to get their hopes up because they know that it probably won't be anything. But the fact that this was the year that it was something, so
Yeah, exactly. I did the same thing with Final Fantasy VII. Siliconera was the only one in the world saying that it was going to be announced, and I was like, "Yeah, right." And I actually called them out on Twitter. I said, "If this news is fake, I will never go to your website again." But it turned out to be correct. So they have some very evil sources there. But I was going into that one with a lot of reservations. I was like, "Yeah, right. That's never going to happen." But both of them did, and that was actually very surprising. So that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. I'm so happy for all my friends out there that get to experience the continuation of this awesome series. But anyway, we shall continue on. No, I'm not going to talk about that dating sim from Katsuhiro Harada for the Project Morpheus. Did you see that video?
No, actually, I didn't. I never really looked into a lot of the virtual reality things. I don't really feel that that's for me. But
It's so weird that it's an official product by Namco, by Katsuhiro Harada, and you are basically in the summer home with this very good-looking blonde lady. And of course, I saw the video and I started laughing my guts out because all the guys know what we were thinking, the same thing. And nah, yeah, it'd be pretty boring. But basically, I think she just goes around. She says, "I'm going to do this. Do you want me to do this?" And basically, the controls for the game is you shake your head or you nod your head. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very harmless game. weirdest shit was that Katsuhiro Harada appeared in the game. Last thing you want to see in virtual reality is the guy of Tekken just appearing out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know
It,
what he wants. He's probably going to challenge you to a game of Tekken or something. I don't know.
Interesting. I gotta look it up, but Mr. Harada, you could also be working on something called the Xenosaga Trilogy HD. Just saying,
Yes.
man. Just saying. Just don't hype us with tweets and then don't deliver. Even though
Yeah,
I've never played
especially
them, maybe they suck, but I've never played them, and I would like to give them a try because of all the fans loving these games.
it'll be a long time. Like if Harada's in control, he's got 4 projects at once right now. That's crazy shit. That's Nomura levels right there. So, so
Yeah,
maybe when a
exactly.
couple of them, maybe when a couple of them come out. But alrighty, we're going to be talking about the very safe but not as bad as everyone else makes it out to be Nintendo Digital Event. People, I don't know what you want because this event didn't bother me the slightest. Was it the best they ever did? No. Was it the worst they ever did? Try watching that E3 conference where they talked about Wii Music. Then you'll know the depths
But
that they
I
sunk.
have to be honest, that was just a moment, and that was the first thing I thought. It was just vitality sensor and music. Those were just moments, but they still had good games. I'm going to be honest, that digital event, just a digital event, I'm not talking about the later Treehouse, in my opinion, was one of the worst Nintendo E3 conferences that I've seen. They were very low quality, like just consistently not so good. But that's my opinion,
Yeah, I mean, it was safe. They didn't do any sort of big blockbusters. 'Cause I'm not a big Star Fox guy. I don't hate it, but I've never had a time for the Star Fox. So if you're a Star Fox fan, pretty cool. I'm not. I love Metroid, but I'm not going to be signing that fucking petition to discredit Federation forces. I mean, seriously, you don't want it, don't buy it. That's
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, just don't buy it. But this, while I do understand it from one point, and it's like again, letting your voices be heard, and just tell Nintendo, no, we don't stand for these types of cookie cutter spin-offs. We don't deal with that shit. We want proper games for our series. While I do respect that, this is taking it a little bit too far, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, of course, that I watched the demo. Didn't really interest me. It's not sort of my type of game. However, what did interest me, and of course, everyone knows how much of a fan of Zelda I am, and of course, they announced Triforce Hunters for the 3DS, which is kind of a spiritual successor to the Four Swords Adventures, using the same program and engine that they did to run Link Between Worlds. Looks pretty cool. I won't probably expect anything story-wise. It's more of a gameplay, cooperative play Zelda game, and I love the puzzle solving in Zelda games, so I'm actually all for it. So, looking forward to Triforce Hunters. Ah,
Yeah, that's again that I just played the big Zelda titles, But it's interesting, especially if you are massive Zelda fan and you would like to play together with other massive Zelda fans. It looks nice. Now, how about that Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS? Are you going to be buying it again and spend about 200 hours again on it? Because I'm interested to find that out.
my drug, my addiction. Far out. Good thing is you can connect your save to your Wii U, which is like thank God
Oh
because
wow, that's awesome! I didn't know about that.
it,
That's really cool.
well, I don't know if you can actually put your save file into the 3DS version, but what you can do is you can take the new characters from the 3DS version and transfer them to the Wii U version. It's like thank God, thank goodness for that. And supposedly there's going to be more battles that's based on the Wind Waker, and they're going to put probably hopefully they'll transfer them too. So because I've done so much fucking grinding in that game for badges, and I'm nearly reaching the 300 hour mark, and I don't want to start that again. I do not want to. As much as I've enjoyed it's my favorite game of last year, one of my favorite gaming experiences. I don't want to start it again on the 3DS. So if I just buy the 3DS because I'm a massive Zelda collector, put that on my shelf, display it, and use it to transfer all the DLC to there, I'm fine. I'm happy. So.
Okay.
And of course, if you've never played it before and you don't have a Wii, you have a 3DS, it's awesome. However, I do have to be honest saying, as a big Warriors fan as I am, handhelds are not optimized to play the Warriors games. Just saying, it's one of those games, it feels more comfortable on a controller. So just be warned about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a feeling this is going to be somewhat like Xenoblade Chronicles-ish. You know, it's nice to have it on the go, but it's not optimized for it, and it's not going to be as good as the console version, I would say, as opposed to say maybe a Persona 4 Golden, which improves upon the original PS2 and is much more fun to play on a handheld.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think I've already said I've played more. Put more hours into my version of the Golden than I did my PS2 save file. So that's totally right. So anyway, we've come to the point that I've been waiting to talk to Ero about
Yeah.
with the E3 episode. And of course, I did my other podcast, The Saturday Wants to Trust Mac, and that was the most anticipated moment of that recording as well. So, and I'm going to have two different opinions that I'm looking forward to hearing. First up, let's talk about Fire Emblem If, otherwise now known as Fire Emblem Fates, which I actually like the name. They showed off quite a lot. They showed a trailer with the English localization. Love the voice acting. Very awesome. I really like the trailer. But more than that, as Ero alluded to before, is the Nintendo Treehouse was very extensive this year. They would be doing, they actually basically they did like 30 to 40-minute demos of the games, and I think Fire Emblem Fates actually got 2 different days worth of the video demonstrations, which is pretty awesome. Got to see the game in motion, and I think the story is amazing. Like, the first battle is really cool by Fire Emblem standards, and something that I've been hoping for has come true. I've been wanting a worthy Fire Emblem villain for a while now, and King Garon is a filthy piece of shit. He really is. That first battle where basically he wants to see if his son, your main character, basically has the ability to kill another, and basically forces him to fight these prisoners from the Hoshido clan. And I thought it was a really cool first battle for the game. And of course, when you beat them, he orders you to execute them. And of course, apparently the main character has a conscience where he doesn't, and shit gets really nasty from there. So thank you, Nintendo and Intelligent Systems. Finally, I have a villain that I want to kick the shit out of. That's all I asked.
Yeah, no, I looked a little bit at the treehouse because I have time. It's limited, but I just saw a couple of battles and attacks, and it looks very solid Fire Emblem. So I'm very cool there. One thing that really blows me away about Fire Emblem Fates is that it really feels like it's Fire Emblem mixed with Shin Megami Tensei in the sense that it has the alignment system, it has the law, the chaos, and maybe even as well as it's mentioned, there's a third scenario which is going to be a neutral route as well. So I really like that style that you're able to choose between alignments. That seems to be lifted from Shin Megami Tensei. Just saying that.
I have a new prediction now what that new scenario is going to be, because there was a piece of news that was introduced this week from Japan, and it's the final piece of news before the game's release next week. The marriage system is back in Fates, and you do have offspring. I have a feeling the third scenario may be Generation 2, like
Well,
Genealogy of the Holy War.
I thought that when they announced the game that it was going to be you choose between Hoshino or Hoshido, you choose between Nor, and then the third
Yeah,
scenario is you picking no alignment. That's what
yeah,
I.
that's what I thought too, and I'm keeping that out there because this is just a prediction. This is not fact. But with this marriage system in there, it brings out that thought because I was talking with Taylor. Both our greatest fears is the reason he didn't like Awakening was the whole time travel element where the offspring, the children, come back in time to help their parents. That's actually my greatest fear for if. Like, I don't want that to happen a second time. So, I don't want any sort of time traveling elements in if, because I just wanted that to stick to Awakening. And I'm hoping that the second generation only comes into like the later chapters in the game where some time has passed and the children are old enough to fight alongside their parents. That I will buy and that I will gladly accept. If it's another time travel plot device, I'm gonna be pissed.
I didn't mind
So
it that much in Awakening, but I can understand your reservations. But I'm already sold on this game. I was this close to spending a lot of money on getting this Japanese special edition, as well
Yeah.
as the bundle with the cover plates. But something inside me said, let's just wait and see what happens, because in the end, if this comes out in the West, then I'll have to buy it again because I can't read Japanese. So, but
Yeah.
that artwork looks gorgeous. I want to have that on my shelf, and I really look
Yes.
forward to Fire Emblem Fates. It's one of my most anticipated games for 2016 for sure.
Yes, I'm the same. I thought the artwork on that special is just so beautiful. As much as I'm building this Fire Emblem Shrine, I don't have the money to go buy both versions of the game in Japanese, so I'm gonna wait. There's rumors that they actually are gonna do the both versions, like that rumor that it might come as the one. It's still up in the air, but someone suggested that Nintendo said they might be doing the dual versions, two different versions, like they do with Pokemon. That doesn't bother me, so to speak, because I'll buy both versions. For anyone that actually wants to buy the one version, you can actually download the other version as a part of the game with the eShop. So you've got yourself covered there. So pretty cool. But yeah, I really do like the English voice acting. I do like what I saw of the story, sort of the localization. So yeah, really looking forward to next year for Fire Emblem Fates. Now, um, Arrow, I wonder if we've got another 5 hours to talk about this game that we're
Yeah,
going to
no,
talk about.
much is to be said here, and much in a positive way, because for me this was the best announcement at E3. I'm going to be honest. During just seeing the trailer again, it was after seeing it at Japanese Direct, while it was a little bit different, was nice. But again, Nintendo Treehouse blew me away because they finally showed this game in action for 45 minutes, and that really put me at ease, at calm, and showed me that this is the game that I want, and this is most likely going to be my favorite Wii U title. I am very excited for this particular game.
Yes, as Era alluded to, they showed a lot more of. It's so funny. They actually called it by its Japanese name, which I'm not even going to attempt. Gemba Iburoki or something like that. I know I fucked that up.
I, I
Sharp
just
FE.
I just call it Sharp FE. Yeah,
Sharp
that's fine.
FE. But it's so funny that they called the Trieste video by its Japanese name phonetically in English, but they actually said that the name is not final. So I actually have a guess what they're going to call it. I wouldn't be surprised if they call the game like the Mirage of Fire Emblem because I like what they're doing. Basically, if you would slash everything from this game and call it Persona 6, I'd believe it. I really would because I was blown away. The one thing that I watched this video, I was blown away at the level of detail this game had. This is the type of game I look forward to owning a console for. And this was the type of game the Wii U was starving for, not because it was just an RPG, just because of the level of quality to show that it was sort of like, it really pushed the console to its boundaries. I mean, we saw that scene where the main character Itsuki went into the streets of Shibuya. He went into a Hero store, which is of course the Jack Frost store. I was blown away how detailed everything was in that convenience store. You can go up to the counter, you can do this. I mean, most Persona games, you just go into the store and it'd just be like a quick menu with like a flashy sort of like still sort of shot of the store. But here you are, you can walk around the store, and I was blown away at the detail of this game. And everyone's wondering, well, everyone was complaining for the longest time, Shin Megami Tensei X Fire Emblem, why is it taking so long? Why is it taking so long? After watching this trailer, I understand why. They were hard at work building this game. Visually, I haven't listened to most of the soundtrack, but it was cool. But the battle system, fantastic. Like if you're a fan of Persona, you are going to be so happy when you play this battle system. It is so cool. But one thing I have to say that I kind of called early on that was really cool is you go around Shibuya, and basically all the NPCs in the background are all these like multicolored silhouettes. And one part of the trailer that I was blown away, and I think Ero will attest to this as well, is when the idolosphere, the other world, came into the port of Shibuya. They were sucking out the creativity, all the happiness of the characters around them, and all these multicolored characters started to turn to shades of gray. And I thought, that's Atlas for you.
Yeah.
I thought artistically that was amazing. You know, it really did give this great atmosphere for this world they're creating. The other thing that blew me away, they showed the first dungeon, harken back to Persona 3 and 4 again, just how the character Itsuki had his sword out. It reminded me of Yu Narukami having his sword out in Persona 4, and of course the main character Persona 3. And you have to go over to the Mirages, which are actually, I'm going to give the floor to Ero for this because I've kind of taken away too much, and Ero will explain the whole Mirage system with Sharp FE.
So yeah, the system it's again, a lot of people just watch the trailer and are turned off by its very colorful aspects. But if you look at the 45-minute treehouse, they really go in depth. They show you everything. They show exploration, dungeon exploration, battle system, and basically how I perceive it is that you have the main characters who have these who live their lives in Japan, and for some unexplained reason, this other dimension, the idolosphere, comes into play, and it summons these legendary beings, which are classic Fire Emblem heroes and bad guys, into the world. And at first, they are, they're called Mirages, and they are pretty much bad guys. So they're kind of like shadows in Persona,
Yes.
and that's how they roam around. And then what happens is the main characters, they go out and they, I don't know how, but they awaken their power. All the main characters, by the way, they are performers. The one is an actor, wants to become an actor. One,
Yep.
as you can see in the trailer, she is a singer. And then I'm pretty sure they'll add in some more styles there, with some maybe unannounced characters. But they unlock the ability to do a performa, which sounds very similar to Persona. And what I've understood is they have the ability to take these mirages, and besides just the normal enemies, they at some point change the mirages into these performas to help them further along, and you can recruit them over time. That's what I've gathered from the treehouse. So that's pretty much how you go through this game, and that's what establishes the bad guys versus the good guys. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some evil entity or evil corporation, trying to bank on this. I'm pretty sure it's typical Atlas. They will fix something in there. But I kind of like that dynamic to see that, the classic Fire Emblem heroes are kind of these, they are these mirages. They're first the bad guys, and then they can recruit you. You can recruit them later on. I think that's a very interesting mechanic. We saw some boss fights at Treehouse. We saw Mad King Gangrel from Fire Emblem Awakening, which was a huge epic battle. His design looked very nice, and yeah, you just go around and have fun in this third-person dungeon exploration. All dungeons based upon real-life Tokyo areas. So one of the dungeons they showed was inside the Shibuya 109 building, which is a fashion store. So they kind of build it upon fashion. Very interesting to see. And of course, you know, what really calmed me after seeing the original trailer didn't really make sense, but it's to see that it's a traditional turn-based press turn system, including the Fire Emblem weapon triangle weakness system, and that really calmed me down, and see that it's just a traditional turn-based battle system that that's helping me. I don't know how you feel about that.
I actually was blown away with the battle system because this was the one part of the game that merged Fire Emblem with, I wouldn't say Shin Megami Tensei in general, more so Persona, because when we look at the Persona stats, we're so used to looking at their weaknesses and their resistance and what they're strong against. The fact that they took that base idea and took the elements from Shin Megami Tensei and basically inserted the weapons triangle as the four other alignments, it was the systems of that, and I thought that was so cool. Like, if you are a sword user and you go to a stab an axe enemy, which they showed, it'll come up the weak status like they do in the Persona games, which is pretty cool. Just Shin Megami Tensei in general. So I thought that was amazing, and to incorporate both those systems is just such a simple idea that makes it so effective. And that was the biggest surprise for me because it was the nice blend of the two. And I really dig the battle system. I like the fact it takes on the stage. There's a crowd around you, and like there's laser lights everywhere. It's very glamorized. But I did like the fact that there's a lot of strategy, like the Persona games. You have to consider what enemy to hit with what character. Of course, they use the performer ability, which act like personas, like of course, the Fire Emblem heroes. Like the main character Itsuki has Chrom, and Chrom looks badass. He looks like a Dark Lord version of Chrom, basically, in my opinion. Looks really cool. Sheeta from the Arcania Saga draft, Shadow Dragon. She was the performer for basically the singer character, and then they had
Tsubasa.
Tsubasa.
Oh man, top tier waifu right there.
And
They,
then
they have
you
this
had
they have this awesome meme picture, which is her outfit, and she has like sunglasses on and it says like "deal with it." I love that meme. That's so awesome.
and there the final one, of course, was Kane, which was from Shadow Dragon for the redhead character. I think it was Tomu or something. Tobu. Um,
Yeah.
cool. Like, there's gonna be more characters coming. Like, there was an archer character based on a Fire Emblem hero. I don't know which one yet. There'll be more to come. My prediction is if there's gonna be a spellcaster character, my prediction it will be Soren from the Radiant Saga. Will be the performer for that character because Soren's as far as fans go, that he's probably the most uh I would just say famous of all the magic users. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Soren. I'm trying to think of like other characters that could probably do, but I'll just leave it at that. Maybe Hector can be like an axe user. Who knows? But I'm
Yeah.
actually but as Zero just said, then they confirmed that the Fire Emblem villains will be the boss battles in the game, and that also made me excited. Like you had King Gangrel, which was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to villains like Garneth and Nagol, and like one of the big ones is I won't mention it because it's kind of a spoiler for Sacred Stones. I'm glad Arrow mentioned that to me. I won't mention that. Um, I really hope it's not Medeus because that would be the most simple route to go. That Medeus is the one behind everything because he was the very first main villain. But if you actually played Shadow Dragon, didn't really play so much a part. He was like the character everyone alluded to, like talk about the Dragon King Medeus. But when you fought him, it was very few words exchanged. But he wasn't really an in-depth Fire Emblem villain. I would rather see like someone like Nagol have a bit more of a power. Now there was I kind of talked with my Fire Emblem buddies, and we did have our theories that one of the sort of evil-looking characters that was shown in the trailer, we think that it could be one of the main villains of the Binding Blade in sort of like this other form. So I could be wrong. Who knows? But that'd be cool because kind of her face kind of really resembled that particular character in the Binding Blade. So
Hmm.
it'll be
Interesting.
interesting. It'd be interesting if that comes to pass. But I would say number one, I was blown away with the battle system, and I was blown away with just the level of presentation. This wasn't just a cheap cash-in title. They really worked on it, and I give kudos to Atlas. And aside from the Fire Emblem elements, aside from the Shin Megami Tensei elements, I'm seeing this as a triple A title RPG for a system that's starved for RPGs. So bring it on, seriously.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. And you know, I want to bring up 2 points, which is the original teaser. So the original teaser dropped a couple of years ago, 2013, I believe, at the Nintendo Direct. Now, just before you think about if you're disappointed by Sharp FE, which I know some of you are, just look back at the trailer. All the teaser basically was it was Shin Megami Tensei. They just threw out a couple of character portraits. They showed Fire Emblem. They threw out a couple of character portraits, and it ended development in progress. That's the teaser right there. Now, of course, me included, we all went rampantly crazy. We were thinking, what is this game going to be? Is it going to be strategy RPG? Is it going to be demons in the Fire Emblem world? Is it going to be Fire Emblem characters in the Shin Megami Tensei post-apocalyptic world? Oh my god, this is going to be like the best, darkest crossover ever. It's not. It's a unique title that looks extremely interesting for me personally. I know some people still take issue with the fact that it's like performers, idle simulator. I've heard these arguments as well. I don't care. It looks like a fantastically great game on its own. Yes, I do agree it has more elements of, say, Persona in there than maybe Shin Megami Tensei, but it's still Atlas. The director of Radiant Historia and Strange Journey is working on this, which are two top tier Atlas games right there. So I feel right at home, and I'm sure that while it looks very cutesy and colorful on the outside, the story will take some great strange turns. They hinted at this with Treehouse, that Tsubasa, her sister, is lost. She believes that she's maybe kidnapped or taken by the Mirages or something like that. I am pretty sure that there's going to be a very dark and epic story in there. I don't feel concerned about that at all. The only thing that I would really like to see, though, is just a little bit more of that uh, demon design or persona design that we're used to. We saw the Jack Frost, but I would like to see a little bit more in that as well. If they're going with the original enemy designs that they're using right now, they look exciting as well. Could use a little bit more of that. But that being said, though, I am very excited for this. This was my game of the year or game of the E3 show. It calms me down. I'm very happy to see it. I'm very happy as well that Europe is getting it as well. I just hope they time it well together with the American release because I cannot import the American Wii U title. But I'm hyped. I will be there. I hope it comes out, around not at December 2016, but I'm very into
No.
Sharp FE for sure.
It'll be at latest mid 2016, honestly, because they're working hard. We saw some English screenshots there. So or was it in? I can't remember if it was in English. I think the battle system had the prompts, but no, really cool. I'm really digging it. I was really surprised. I think the only part where I shook my head is they showed that part with the idols attack with the love hearts. It's the only time I shook my head, like, oh really? But you
Yeah.
have to expect that. But like Era said, it'll go for a dark turn. It's the guy who created Strange Journey. I have no doubt. I still need to play Radiant Historia. I don't know why I don't have a copy yet. But anyway, looking forward to Sharp FE. And I would, in the comments, in the Facebook, I want to get the creative juices flowing. What would you want this game to be called? Because the whole Mirage things, because the word illusory can also mean Mirage as well. Illusions, Mirages. So it could be like the Mirage of Fire Emblem or something like that. So.
Yeah, well, let's see what they come up with. I'm very interested to see what they're going to be called. I think they will use something like Mirage in the title. I think that makes sense. But, we'll see what happens. I'm up for suggestions, and until then, I'm just going to call it Sharp FE.
And here's two games that were actually shown at the Treehouse, and these are games that I never thought would come out. One I'm actually excited for. One, not so much. I know a lot of people are because this was one of the best-selling games in Japan, or at least the sequel was. They showcased a few level 5 games. One of them was a game that I've been kind of really looking forward to for a long time, and that's LBX, the Little Battles experience. Um, I'm a big fan of games like Dark Cloud, and I love Rogue Galaxy, so I'm a big fan of Level 5's action RPGs. And this was the only game that has been sort of like closest to an action RPG by Level 5 in a very long time. And as a fan of Gundam and sort of I've done model kits, I'm really looking forward to the LBX because it plays like an RPG where you basically have these little miniature plastic models which sort of come to life and you sort of like, control them and you battle other mechs and you gain parts and the parts level up and everything. Apparently it has a real serious story, even though it's got that Saturday morning cartoon vibe about it. So I'm really excited they're finally localizing this. Of course, the PSP is sadly expired for a lot of developers and a lot of distributors. So the 3DS version seems to be the safe bet, and I'm glad that they're going to be taking it. It's going to be coming out in August for America, and Europe's going to get it in November, but looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, it's not really for me, but happy that it's coming, of course.
The other game, of course, by Level 5 is one of their best-selling games in a long time, and that's Yokai Watch. And I'm actually kind of reserved about this game because there's a lot of things I like about it. Like it does have that Ni no Kuni-esque sort of, wouldn't say like battle, but that environment. Like when you go around the real world town in Ni no Kuni, it has that same sort of vibe with the city of Yokai Watch. And it is kind of like a slight Pokemon clone where you go out and you go find these yokai, which are like these ghosts. You train them. The battle system's really weird. Because apparently in the battle you basically flip the watch and you basically like when you set a watch and you turn the dials and all that, you can actually turn the dials and it turns your party with new members. I said to myself, that's actually kind of odd. But
Yeah, that's. I was very excited when it was announced. I was like, "Oh, it looks like Ni no Kuni." I know it's very popular in Japan. Then I looked at some gameplay trailers and I was like, "Yeah, right. Okay, I'm not gonna pick this game up. The gameplay system is not a traditional turn-based system that I would like to see." So I decided to not, not go for this game.
yeah, the exploration and sort of like the finding of the yokai, that interests me. There wasn't really much story wise, and the battle system, I need a lot more convincing. I'll put it at that. But yeah, I'm more excited for LBX more than anything. But it's nice to see Level 5 finally pumping out their wares because it's taken them a long time. But yeah, hopefully they do well. But that's it for Nintendo. And who wants to fire the gun first?
Well, there's also Bravely Second shown at the
Yep.
Nintendo Treehouse, which is nice. I didn't really watch the entire Treehouse. I know I want to buy that game, so I look forward to seeing that in 2016. But that brings us indeed to a very good point, which is Bravely Second is developed by this studio you might be aware of, and that's called Square Enix. And about an hour after Nintendo, or just right away, Square Enix did their press conference. And while it was fantastic for some other people, your hosts included, thought it was just shit.
Yes. The, a lot of people think I'm crazy saying this was actually my least favorite conference of E3, and it's not my biased opinion towards one series, which I will get into. I actually thought half the conference was boring, and I blame myself by getting suckered into the hype because, before the conference, they had a lot of trivia moments where they mentioned series they worked on. And I'll say this now, they were stupid to do that because they got a lot of people's hopes up. And that so-called video where they bleeped out all the things that just got everyone into hype mode. No matter if you were a fan of Chrono Cross, you're a fan of Secret of Mana, if you're a fan of certain series, you're a fan of certain series, which is called Dragon Quest, you were certainly hyped. And I've got myself to blame for it. But seriously, getting to that, they had a lot of Western developer games. They had Just Cause 3, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Hitman, and Deus Ex. Out of all those Western games, only Rise of the Tomb Raider actually interests me. I actually have played a bit of the first Tomb Raider reboot, and I actually am enjoying it. That high octane sort of Uncharted-esque sort of action adventure type of title. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to probably Rise of the Tomb Raider, like well after its release, like when it comes down in price. But the other
For
games
me,
like
that was Deus Ex, by the way. Deus Ex is a game that I really enjoyed on the PS3, and that is definitely a game that I am going to pick up for sure when it comes out on the PS4.
but games like Hitman and Just Cause 3, I was nearly falling asleep because it was like late at night for me. It was like no late early in the morning, it's like nearly 3 to 4 in the morning. And I stood up because of the hope to hear news of different games. And the first one that they surprised everyone with, and it was kind of a slap in the face to me and Arrow, a new Nier game that's going to be made by Platinum Games. And I think, good sir, we might be the only two people in the community that's not really that excited for
I
it.
was, funny enough, I was watching a stream with Devil May Pie, who is a huge fan of Nier recently. So he was blown away by it, and it was very interesting to hear his opinions. When I was sitting there, I was like, great for the fans, but so I'm a fan of certain Square Enix properties. Am I gonna get my treats here? But
Yeah.
it's interesting that they do this again, and it harkens back cult following, taking risks, because these games are pretty obscure. But I'm very happy that it's coming out for all of you great action RPG fans. Platinum even that they do a lot of awesome stuff. So on the action front, so look forward to this title and definitely pick it up. But yeah, not really for me.
Maybe one day I'll be near. Maybe one day. I don't know when. But there was another action RPG there that I actually really did enjoy seeing more news of. And of course, Kingdom Hearts 3 made a showing. I have to admit, the part of the trailer where you had young Master Xehanort and of course young Master Ericus, that's what I needed to basically tide me over until the next piece of Kingdom Hearts news.
Man, I couldn't
I,
pinpoint who they were. Thanks for reminding that they were, that no, I didn't know who these characters were, but now I know. Thanks.
no worries. And they had that chess game where they were talking about the Dark World. And I was like, this is what I love about Kingdom Hearts. Not so much the Disney characters. And yes, the Fire Emblem, I'm sorry, not Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy fan service is good and all, but it's that original part of the story that makes me love the series. And it was cool to have that great moment between the two where they were playing chess. And that sold me. And of course, then they showed the footage, of course, of the future with Sora, Donald, and Goofy fighting the Heartless in the Tangled world. I think the game looks beautiful. I think it looks fantastic. This was the next generation Kingdom Hearts game that everyone has wanted for a very long time. And it looks fluid, it looks fantastic. And the fact Nomura tweeted that this is not going to be the official build, which is like, look, as Ero said, I know you like piling on new ideas. This looks fine to me. Don't fuck with it.
Oh, it looks absolutely fantastic. I love that the camera's pulled back a little bit. I keep mentioning that, but that is just a very small tweak that I really dig because it makes the action much more easier to spot, and it just looks absolutely gorgeous. And Tangled World, I'm in there. I really like that movie. I'm pretty sure we'll see some more great classic new worlds in there as well. And I'm extremely excited for this game. It is the wait is very it has been very long, which that is not good at all. Uh, you know, well, the wait has been a pretty long time, so maybe it's been a little bit too little too late, but I will still pick it up. I'm still very excited for it, but I'm wary because I know full well that I haven't played Kingdom Hearts in 3 years, and it's not been as awesome a journey as say Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, which have been over 10 years ago when I just started getting into action RPGs. So I got to be cautious. I got to be cautious, but of course you guys know me. I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah, that's a definite. This was the highlight of the Square Enix press conference. So, as much as I say it's my least favorite, at least I can walk away saying that I got a taste of Kingdom Hearts 3, and I thank them for that. And then, of course, they showed the trailer again, which is kind of redundant because it's kind of like saying, "Oh, you weren't at the Sony conference? Well, here it is." And I'm pretty sure everyone was watching the Sony conference. Just to remind you, yes, they are doing a remake of Final Fantasy VII. The other follow up that I knew was going to happen is the crew at Tri-Ace came up and talked about Star Ocean 5. And as I said on Trust of the Mac, I consider Star Ocean to be the ultimate 8 out of 10 series. Where it's a great game, but it never reaches the heights of Masterclass, RPGdom. So I like playing Star Ocean games, but I'm not like of the hardcore variety when it comes to Tri-Ace and Star Ocean. So when it happens, I pick them up, I play them. I do like the little changes, like there's no transitions anymore. The enemies you see out in the field, you can go up to straight away. It actually kind of resembles Infinite Undiscovery in that way, but I think it's a lot more cleaner than Infinite Undiscovery was. But I like the fact that it's got a 6-party system. Reminds me of Suikoden in that regard. So I think with the 6-party system, that's going to lead into some really hectic battles where there might be like 20 enemies in screen at once, and you've got the 6 characters that have to spread out to the field. Really cool. Story-wise, they pushed it that it takes place before 3, so who knows what's going to happen, but I like the fact it's on an unidentified planet, underdeveloped planet. It starts off with like the medieval feel, and no doubt towards the later part of the game, is going to be like the space opera element of the game. So I'm optimistic about it, and when it happens, I'll give it a go. Basically,
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I'm very hit and miss on Star Ocean. I've only played 1 and 3. Didn't I played a little bit of 4? Didn't particularly care for it. So I still have to play Star Ocean 2. We'll see how that goes. But until then, I'm happy that again this is coming out for fans, and it should be a very interesting game for you guys to enjoy.
and this is something I want to discuss because you're going to laugh at this. The creators of the Star Ocean series came out today and admitted, and this was on the record, that something was not right about Star Ocean 4.
Yeah, I remember. I read this. It's very interesting to see that they actually admit that something was wrong with this game, and they're trying to fix it. So that's very interesting to see.
It would be interesting to see how they change it for the better. Maybe they can sort of create a sort of a new sort of Star Ocean experience and, I don't know, get a whole new following. But that's where our sort of like okay good news ends because yes, the Square Enix president came out and he was very excited to sell everyone that Portal app. That I don't really care for it, but what he said, before I go into that, he was talking about the first project of Tokyo RPG Factory, I think it was called. And it's called Project Cessna, and they only showed some art pieces, some concept art, nothing to really get too excited over. But it was his final speech that when he said it, something kind of snapped in my mind where he basically said that yes, we have these Western developed games, but our foundations have always been built from RPGs, and RPGs will always be the main focus of this company. Well, that's well good and all, but Dragon Quest fucking 7 didn't make an appearance. So, what do you say about that? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
well, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand what's going on in their head anymore because there are right now 5 titles from Dragon Quest. Well, maybe there's 6 Dragon Quest titles that I know of. There is Dragon Quest Heroes, which is announced and that is coming, but that's a spin-off. There's
Yeah.
Dragon Quest 7, and that has been unannounced and it's not coming. There is Dragon Quest 8 for the 3DS, which is announced recently, not announced at E3. There is Dragon Quest 10, which understandably, but again, that is also out on many systems, not announced. There are the Dragon Quest Monsters 3DS remakes, which are Terry's Wonderland, I believe, not
Yep.
announced. I understand that. And then personally, I know how much you hate them, but personally, I thought it was going to be a very easy game to localize and just release, and that's still on my list. And that's Dragon Quest Theater Rhythm, which, easy game for the 3DS right there, but apparently it's not going to come out. So I guess I have to go and import a Japanese copy for my Japanese 3DS. But just think about it. These are 6 games. Only one of these 6 is coming out. That makes no sense at all. Not even the main number titles 7 and 8. And this is Square Enix. This is Enix. This
Yeah.
is Dragon Quest, the original RPG series. And I'm not even such a big fan as you are. I am pissed off about this. I don't understand what the fuck Square Enix is thinking here. Just
I allowed myself to get too hyped up, and I walked away from that conference heartbroken. I really was. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to bed. Didn't even talk to anyone the next day. I was like, I thought this would be the year, the year. Well, let me tell you this now, Arrow. That no one took it lightly. Everywhere I go, every Dragon Quest forum, every Dragon Quest Facebook page, like Square Enix opened up an official Dragon Quest Facebook page. Originally it was Dragon Quest Heroes, and then it became Dragon Quest. Every post, where's Dragon Quest 7? Where's Dragon Quest 7? Where's Dragon Quest 7? Just plastered. And they're going to see this for the next few years until they do something about it. Oh
yeah,
man.
it's just I don't understand
No.
what their deal is. I just don't get it. Like don't come up on stage and talk about how awesome your RPGs are and it's your foundation when you are just completely ignoring your number one series. I'm actually surprised that they didn't even show Dragon Quest 11 or did a
Yeah.
teaser on it. I know that's probably more Tokyo Game Show hype,
Yeah,
but
that'd be sacrilege to announce that outside the homeland, which is like their
true.
baby. So yeah, yeah,
But this is absolutely ridiculous. They, uh, it and also I don't really don't understand what they're actually doing with Dragon Quest in Japan. Why port Dragon Quest 8 to the 3DS? Like I know, but why not just the Vita as well? The Vita it is capable of handling so much more. And I
mm,
understand it was the only Dragon Quest game that is now well not on there. Everything is on there, right? One, two, and three maybe not, but
yeah,
that should have been ported on there as well. But with DS and 3DS, I mean, but
yeah.
it's just, oh, I just,
The worst thing though, and whoever made that trailer should be fired, is they had Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger as the theme of that trailer. So of course all the passionate Chrono fans came out of the closet saying, "Oh my God, there's going to be another Chrono game." We both joked saying it was going to be like a HD version of Chrono Trigger for consoles or something like that. But the fact they did that and they didn't even do anything Chrono related, that was just a kick in the teeth for Chrono fans.
yeah, I didn't even, I just read the post that they were bleeping out six things, but I didn't even see that it was going to be like I didn't even hear that there was, you know, that there was a Frogs team in there. So just, uh, it's, I don't I just don't get it what they're doing. Yes, they announced some awesome stuff. Yes, Nier is coming. Yes, Final Fantasy VII is coming. They have a very strong foothold on the Western development market. Bravely Second is coming. But, Dragon Quest Heroes as well. But just in general, they're
Yeah.
just, let's not even get into that other fan base that I am very vocal about. Because I
I
got
was
hyped
hoping.
there. Because I was thinking this is going to be the year where they're going to be doing The World Ends With You too. It makes sense for them. I just don't get it, Square. Look at the popularity that Persona is having right now. I played The World Ends With You before I played any Persona game. And retroactively, when I played Devil Survivor, I was like, man, this is ripping off The World Ends With You. But now I realize The World Ends With You was kind of a sort of rip off of at least Persona. And I just don't get it because it's so easy. You do a sequel to it
Mm.
and you have kind of like a rivalry competitor to Persona, which is stealing a lot of your sales away. I'm honest. I am not buying Final Fantasy shit anymore because I'm spending all my monies on the Shin Megami Tensei Persona. It is so easy for Square to just put it into production and just say, here, guys, just go work on it. Just do even a sloppy sequel, just a same visual style, sort of a retelling story, recurring characters. You don't even have to think about this really hard to do a sequel on the 3DS, and it will sell a lot of units. I don't get it, guys. What the fuck are we doing here?
And the sad thing is that's one of Nomura's, so he would have to hand it over to someone else if it was to get done. There's no way he wants to add something else on top of being the lead of the Final Fantasy VII remake. So
Yeah,
it's a
but he,
pretty
he can
crap.
he can he can definitely he can just very quickly on like an afternoon just design some characters. One of the characters is already designed, which was teased in the iOS remake. He can just say, guys, just do it justice. I trust you guys. I'll do some. I'll come by once every while. What is it? Maybe an afternoon. I'll look at the assets. Just make another sequel. Just throw in some pins in there, some new powers and maybe do something fun with maybe the 3DS and maybe the gyroscope shit and just tell another Reaper's game story and just have some kids in there and they have to survive and just do it well and have Neku show up as like a sage and just do it, just release it. We just put it out in stores quickly and then localize it so that we can steal some of that Persona crowd back. I'm passionate about this shit, man.
I know, and that was actually that was a series I was hoping for you because I haven't. I'm not saying anything bad because I haven't played it, so I can't say anything about The World Ends With You. But I was kind of hoping that for you, just sort of like to bring you back into the fold. But no, we both got screwed. And the
Yeah.
thing that pisses me off more than anything is their get out jail free card for me is Final Fantasy VII. I cannot get fully pissed at them because there is a game that I will buy for them. But for you, you're stronger. You can resist it. So
Yeah, yeah, no, it's sure I'll buy Final Fantasy VII. I'll buy Bravely Second. I'm excited for those. But that's actually it. That's all the Square and Deus Ex. I'm not gonna lie, Deus Ex I'm very excited for. But those are actually and Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3. So they are very active. And I recently recorded a video talking about Atlas, and I mentioned this again where Atlas, I feel, really takes thought and time and thinks about the games that they're releasing, their spin offs, their remakes. They make sense and they put extra content in there. But I don't have that feeling with Square. It's all about quick and dirty money making. Just look at World at Final Fantasy, just slap it together quickly, make a subpar game for the PS4 and make a good game for the PS Vita. And just sell it and market it well and say it's Final Fantasy and lure in the people sexy limited edition, uh, and what, and just they're lying. They are not in this anymore purely for the Japanese RPGs. That's what made them big. But just look at all the attention they had for the Tomb Raider, for the Deus Ex and Hitman as well. They're just in this here to sell money, and of course everybody is. I know everybody is, but again, like an EA, like an Activision, it just shows that Square Enix is just in it to get units sold, and they don't care if they have to do that over the backs of fans and dedicated fans for years. Chronos being fucked over, Dragon Quest, in the West at least, Dragon Quest in the West. I understand. The World Ends With You. It was just one sleeper hit title, but even classic Final Fantasy fans are being fucked over because, you know, what have we seen besides the Bravely series? Nothing. It's completely changed, and it's it's they do near, which is great. Take a risk there, but it's just I just want them to I'm just done with Square Enix. And yes, I'll buy some of their titles, but they lost their ways. And the only thing that is keeping them kind of afloat compared to say some of the other main ones like Capcom and Konami is that they do have this very strong hold on the Western market, which is giving them a lot of money, and they do have all these curricular activities like figures, like manga publishing, and publishing Western titles
Well,
in the West, in Japan, which is giving them a ton of extra money and cash flow to just be able to do all these types of stuff. So
but they are shooting themselves on the foot with the figuring. Because I used to be a collector of their play arts, but now with the play arts Kai, they're becoming too expensive for the average fan to afford them. So they kind
exactly.
of they're kind of shooting themselves there. And as much as you can make the figurine of higher quality, if you make it a price range that I can't afford, I'm not going to buy it. I'd rather a lower quality figure that is more cost effective, like the ones they did in the early 2000s, like the ones for Final Fantasy 7, the ones for Final Fantasy 12. I bought those because they were of the right prices, like $50 maybe, and I thought they were right price, and I wanted some Final Fantasy stuff around my room, and I exactly got that. So, and unfortunately, with most of the figurines they're doing now, it's like $120, and it's just like that's as much as I love figurines, that's just a price I'm not willing to venture to, honestly. So,
Yeah, and then now that I'm getting more into figure collecting, I don't even like the play arts anymore because they're posable and stuff. So it's very
yeah,
hard to put them in correct poses, and they're easier to break. I'd much rather just have solid scaled figures that are unposable, and maybe have
yeah.
some yeah, extra additions like weapons and stuff you can put on them. But you know. We haven't
I,
yeah, we haven't even talked about Kingdom Hearts Unchained Sea.
oh yes, I think I forgot about that on purpose.
Oh man, I, I just I just
Um,
want to see that this game. is not even canon, just like a spin-off title. I don't even want to. I don't even want to have to download that to my iPhone, whether it's free or not. I just don't want. Just stop it with all the shitty fucking spin-offs.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, a lot of people are probably saying, well, Greg, you're getting Dragon Quest Heroes. You should be happy about that. And yes, I've played the Japanese version. Fantastic game. It's worthy of your money. But I'd just like to see a proper Dragon Quest entry brought up, because that's the main reason why we love Dragon Quest. Without those numbered Dragon Quest games, there would be no, like, push to play a game like Dragon Quest Heroes. It's because we love those games. It's why it pushes a fan to play something like Dragon Quest Heroes. And yes, I'm glad they're bringing that out. At this point, any Dragon Quest fan who's listening to this podcast, you'll have to buy Heroes, not just because you want to play it, because it's the only way you can show support for the series, sadly. And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people out there that will buy Heroes, not play it, just because they want to give Square Enix the money. And that's just a sad way about going around about this hobby. Just to fund a game in the hopes that there'll be another project in the future that will make use of it, and it never goes well with that mentality, sadly.
Yeah. So just another thing that to talk about. It's before I mention the title, a lot of people can go into this glass half full, glass half empty. So for some companies, like say an Atlas, whenever they announce something, I'm kind of interested. I go into this. It's going to be great. Now they come on stage and they show that they have this new RPG studio, and they're going to be making a new game called Project Setsuna, and they show you 5 drawn images. And some people are, and all you guys out there listening, and if you are hyped for this, you're entitled to that. Don't understand. But why get hype on something, a new studio, 5 images? You have no idea what's it going to be, and this is Square Enix. Like, I am glad, just don't get me wrong, I am glad to be proven wrong, and that Project Setsuna is the best Japanese RPG that I've ever played in the future. But I really have a tough. I just I can't give these guys passes anymore when they just show something maybe, and a maybe in my book for Square Enix is a no. I don't know how do you feel about Project Setsuna?
Well, there is nothing to get excited about. I mean, yes, I'm glad that there's a new IP, but that's a nice thought. But I'm not like excited about it because there's not enough information to make me excited for it. And my feeling towards Square Enix is this at the moment is I don't feel like I'm a fan of the company. I've had my ups and downs with the company a lot of times, and I feel like I'm just a consumer to them. That's what I feel. I don't feel like if someone says, "Oh, you're a fan of Square Enix," it's like I just buy some of their games sometimes. That's how I feel. That's how I answer a lot of people. Yes, I'll buy Kingdom Hearts games. I'll buy, like Dragon Quest Heroes and all that. And yes, I will be buying Final Fantasy 15 and of course Final Fantasy 7 when it comes out. But I've always considered them the ultimate 50-50 company. They are not game-making gods. They make more mistakes than most game developers out there. Look at Type 0. Everyone was so hyped for Type 0, and there were so many things wrong with that game. Like, I keep warning people, the final battle cannot be lost. Sink that into your brains. That's ridiculous for an RPG, especially a Final Fantasy game.
And I'll never even get that far. I regret spending a fucking €100 on that game, or it was €90. I still haven't sold it. I gotta jump on it and sell that shit to get some of my money back. But oh my god, just let me see. I actually have the list of Square Enix video games in front of me, so let me actually just break down the stuff that they started from. It doesn't matter Japanese, doesn't matter. It's 2015. So, and just listen to type games that are just mediocre or shit compared to really good gems. So we have Final Fantasy Explorers, Final Fantasy Agito, Life is Strange, Dragon Quest Heroes, Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, Theater Rhythm Dragon Quest, Bravely Second, another Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD remaster for the PS4, Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward. We have Lightning Returns for Steam, Triad Wars, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Just Cause 3, Hitman, this PC version on PS4 for Final Fantasy 7, another PC port for Type 0, Deus Ex, World of Final Fantasy, Star Ocean 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 15, the Final Fantasy 7 real remake, Nier, Project Setsuna, and that is just a slew of games, and not counting as maybe some more Dragon Quest titles that are already out in Japan that I haven't mentioned. And I'm sure that they're going to be doing Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 ports. They're going to be
Yeah.
porting, maybe Type 0 to the Vita as well. There's maybe going to be Final Fantasy 13 trilogy to the PS4. There's going to be ports. There's going to be ports. And these are all the games that I mentioned. And there literally is no game that has got me very excited. Yes, I will look forward to Kingdom Hearts 3. I kind of look forward to 15 and Final Fantasy 7 remake, of course. But there's no real game in this here list where I'm just like super excited for. Not even Bravely Second. That is probably my most anticipated title out of all of them. But, it's they are not even that 50-50 company anymore that do great games but a lot of shit games. They just do a lot of bare minimum. Like if you put it on a percentage scale, it's just like this line on like the 60% mark, and then it has a couple of dips and maybe a 70%. But it's just steady, bare bones, just enough, and it's very, very sad because this was a company that was on the 80-90% range. Yes, I know, back in the day when I was growing up, I didn't see all the games in Europe. I didn't see Tobal #1, and I didn't see, well, I did see Guys, but I didn't see all the games, but they were so high quality for me, and now it's just, boom, just dumped back down, and painful.
Yeah. So I can definitely say, yes, there was some stuff I'm interested in, but I think as a whole, the conference was kind of, and just disappointed that they could have taken that, just that opportunity to really hit it out of the park with, announcing Dragon Quest VII localization, with, doing something for the Chrono series, and they've already mentioned that they're working on a series games for the Mana and Saga series in production, and I didn't even mention them, and I'm like,
Good point, actually. Yeah, they're
I think
not actually on the list on Wikipedia, actually. So, yeah, that's happening as well, and I'm pretty sure that they will be rushed as well and not passionate. Sadly,
yeah,
sadly.
but very sadly. So,
Just the
um,
perfect summation of this is, if you want to know how much Square Enix cares about this, they were going to lose the Parasite Eve license. So within like a year or so, they just rushed out the third birthday so that they could do another game. This is the type
mm,
of company we're dealing with. This is not like, let's lengthen the Parasite Eve rights we have and just spend time on making like a true property. No, let's just rush out something as quick as fucking possible, and that went down in history as one of the biggest Square Enix failures I've ever played. But a lot of fans are actually defending it right now. I actually got into a debate or just talk recently where I said, yeah, how bad the third birthday is, and then people said, that's not really a Parasite Eve game. That's the level of defense we are getting in now. That fans are actually saying, man, this is not even a Parasite Eve game anymore. So don't even mention it in the same sentence, like trying to deny it ever happened. But
oh well,
Square Enix, they always give me happy feelings inside of anger and rage.
yeah. They really know how to push your buttons more than any other community, and any other developer, and you could absolutely hate them for the moment. There'll be this one thing that they'll tease you with, and then you'll get suckered into it, and then it's really nothing. But at least this year, okay, like I said, more news of Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy 7 remake, an episode Duske I found fun, so I can't say that they're like the worst because they do have stuff that I like. But I think we'll end it there because I think our listeners are like Come on, guys, let's move it along. But we have to get it out there, guys. We were passionate Square fans way back in the day, and they can be doing so much more. And I'll say this now, as game developers, they're pretty cool. But as like publishers, distributors, and management, yeah, man, it's,
Nah.
no, it's never reached back to what they were. So, but if you think that's going to be the end of this episode, you are wrong because I saved the coolest piece of news last. And Errol and I were talking about this very briefly yesterday, and I was so happy to hear this. Of course, Xseed rocked up at E3. They showed off all their wares, all the games that they recently announced a week beforehand. Uh, I think it might be 2 weeks beforehand, but along the lineup was Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2. And apparently, yeah, they rocked that up and they showed that off at E3. Apparently, a lot of people liked it. Apparently, a lot of people liked it enough to win it one of the best RPGs of E3 award and one of the best Vita games at E3 award. Yes. Yes. Finally, Falcom gets some recognition it deserves. Oh, I'm so happy.
Blown away. I am blown away the fact that they present this very niche title such an amazing award. I actually saw people being outcried like they did the best RPGs and it's just Western and Japanese RPGs. And a lot of people were like, but man, where's Final Fantasy VII Remake? Or what is this piece of shit called Steel? And I'm like, man, you guys have no fucking idea what you're missing out on. I haven't played Cold Steel yet. I've just played Trails in the Sky. And we all know how great, awesome this is. But I just saw that 1 minute trailer that they released, and man, it looks fantastic, and I can't wait. Yes, I know it's coming for PS3 as well, but I'm going to go full Vita here. I'm very excited for this game, and it has been a couple of weeks. A lot of people asked on the Rpgibberish page, what our thoughts are, and especially you, Greg, what your thoughts are that Cold Steel is indeed finally coming, as well as Cold Steel 2 next year.
Mm.
I am very excited for it. It's going to be a great year this year later on because I'm going to be playing Second Chapter, I'm going to be playing Cold Steel 1, and I'm most likely going to be playing Nayata's 100% English translation as well. And I know you have your Operation Obliterate Ouroboros still going on, so it's going to be a lot of trails.
That is now officially on hold because this news has completely derailed it because, okay, I can't play Soranoki Seki the Third because SC is imminent. And I can't play Cold Steel because if I play Sanoki Seki now, it's literally months away before the English translation. That's going to kind of burn things out to replay it that soon. So I did what I did with E7. I just put it down after 10 hours of play, and I'm going to just wait for the English version to experience it, full blown. It's going to be amazing. And there is really no other Kiseki games because I beat Zero now. So you know what I'm doing, good sir? I'm trailing back to the Gagav trilogy. And
No, don't say it ain't so.
I am. I'm playing, as we speak, I'm playing Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch.
Have you beaten all three before? Or?
Nope, I've only beaten Tear of Vermilion.
I see. And, that makes sense because I haven't played them, but I have seen and I've heard so many bad things about these that I don't want to taint that Trails in the Sky love at all with some pretty archaic games. Let's just call it archaic. I don't want to call them shitty. Let's just call them archaic.
Do you know what? I'm not even going to argue with you because they are. They're very bare bones archaic games. I will say the translation is much better in Moonlight Witch than it was in Tear of Vermilion. And the story is actually really old school and it's really interesting. I like the pilgrimage of these two characters. It kind of reminds me of Estelle and Joshua to an extent. So I can see how Trails in the Sky was inspired by Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch. Because if you don't know, that is the game that turned a gamer by the name of Toshihiro Kondo into a Falcom fanatic and eventually became the president of Falcom because of that one game. So, and there's always been rumors that he's going to be the one that's going to remake that game because it's hard to describe the Japanese audience's love for Prophecy of the Moonlight Witch. It seems to be closely to Dragon Quest levels of, just passionate dedication to that one game. Like it's in the annals of Japanese RPG history. And it was always a game that I was sort of like, I've been waiting for, and finally I got a copy. Now I can finally play it, and just playing it on and off, and enjoying it. The battle system's nothing to cry. It's very simple. But it's just like, if I got a podcast on and I'm roaming around the overworld, I'll just put a podcast on. But whenever there's a story segment, I'll turn everything off and give my full attention. So yeah, of course, when SC comes out, I'll be putting it down and be giving all my attention to that. But so awesome to see this finally get recognized. And of course, the Operation Rainfall YouTube page, they uploaded all the XC game trailers at once. And of course, Trails of Cold Steel was the most viewed. So there is hype and there is interest for the game. So I really hope it does well. And I think I do want to end this episode. I think I've got the way we want to end this, because there's something always in the forefront of my mind. Of course, dedicated gamers, as much as me and Arrow, we like to plan things out in advance, and we always think of like the biggest games we're going to think about. And I will say that this last half of the year is going to be very hectic. I mean, I don't know about your list, Arrow, but I'm taking sort of like 2 months off buying like new releases, because there isn't really sort of hardcore new releases for me in July and August. But September kicks off with Metal Gear Solid 5. And basically every week until November, there's a game a week for me to buy. And
Wow.
it's fucking crazy. Like, it starts off, and then apparently there's going to be like, I'm not just talking about RPGs, like Muso games. There's going to be like Arslan Muso, which is based off this fantasy anime I've watched, which is like amazing. Like, it's one of the best anime series I've seen in a long time, especially if you like swords and sorcery and high fantasy. And the fact they're going to make a Muso game out of that, that's one to import. Then the following week they're going to have Samurai Warriors 4X, 4 Warriors 2, 4-2. I'm going to buy that. After that, oh, what was it? There was another game that I was excited for. Then there's Tales of Systeria. And then presumably after that is going to be Trails of Cold Steel. In between all that is going to be Trails in the Sky second chapter. And then leading up to December with Xenoblade Chronicles X. And the thing that just drives me crazy is Persona 5 is going to fit into that somewhere. So
Yeah, no, I completely agree there. While it is now June, I feel that I have a very relaxed time until summer, until the end of August. I am playing Operation Abyss right now, which is a dungeon crawler by experience. I'm just a couple hours in. I'm going to be playing games like Persona 4 Dancing All Night Import. I'm going to be playing Etrian Odyssey Untold, replaying Steins Gate. But in terms of games coming out, not so much. I'll probably play Trails in the Sky 1 again on my Vita. I'll probably do that. I might replay Persona 1, and maybe even Devil Survivor Overclocked. So it is a okay summer, but once I am back from my trip to the US, and that is mid-September, it's crazy, because I'm going to buy a couple of games in the US, like Lost Dimension and X-Blaze, and I'm going to pick those up. I'm going to pick up Danganronpa another episode, Metal Gear Solid 5, and then Dancing All Night US release comes out, Corpse Party, Blood Drive, Tales of Systeria, second chapter, Cold Steel, Persona 5, some Western guilty pleasures like Black Ops 3 and Star Wars Battlefront. So, and then I have not even mentioned Etrian Odyssey Untold, or did I? So it's a huge list of games for that fall period that is definitely going to be exciting me. And then I haven't even talked about potential Mother 4 release, which is the fan made game. I still have to play both Xillia games, so I have it a little bit busy. But I'm going to be fighting my battles and just buy games on the cheap, like I mentioned. Lost Dimension, I might not even buy. It's something I have on my radar, but if it comes out and it turns out to be not such a good game, then I'm just not gonna bother with it at all. So things like that. But I do have my work cut out for me, and of course, everything doesn't matter who you are, what you are, what time you want from me. I'm dropping everything when Persona 5 is coming out. I will take a couple of days off work for that just to be able to get a good head start in there and being able to enjoy it if it comes out this year.
I'm going to be honest, my biggest fear for 2015 is that Persona 5 gets released the same week as Trails of Cold Steel. And I'm hoping that Sony, which I will actually finish off because I want to talk about that campaign they did last year, which they kept true to their word, by the way, which I'll get into a little bit. But if they've got some marketing plan for releases and everything, they'll at least give, Atlas and Xseed sort of like some wiggle room where they'll give them some time apart. And of course, with Atlas not having like an official date, I do believe that Trails of Cold Steel is going to get released before Persona 5. If anything, it'd be interesting if Persona 5 came out December and goes head to head with Xenoblade Chronicles X. That'd be something.
I think it will, and as much as you look forward to Xenoblade Chronicles X, it is on the Wii U, so and I know there's many fans that will buy both, but I feel that Persona 5, if it comes out, it will be December. So
that would be so hard for me because Persona 4 is one of my favorite games on the PS2. Like, I think it's like my third favorite PS2 game, or it could be my second favorite PS2 game. Then you got Xenoblade, which was my favorite, my my favorite Wii game. That would be a nightmare for me to choose between the two. And I'm gonna probably play it like a gamer, not as a fan of both series, but as a gamer. Whatever is the better quality game, I'm gonna continue playing that, basically.
oh well, in the end, there's no rush, right? Once you
Yeah.
get through it, you can just move on to the next one. But I do agree, it's very enticing to have all these games and not knowing what to pick. Whereas right now, while I'm enjoying Operation Abyss, but I was waiting for that game to be delivered actually because I just pretty much had nothing of interest to play. Yes, I have more than 500 games over there in my room, but you guys know me. I beat my games and then I'm kind of done with them. So I know where to pick my battles. But it is coming up. There's going to be a great slew of titles and lengthy RPG titles as well.
Yes.
So
And
just celebrate all that great stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun and yeah, great
I,
stuff for the rest of the year.
I will say this though, we want to touch upon this. That campaign they had for PlayStation on Twitter years ago, they that was one of the most remarkable things ever because it wasn't just shooting the win. They kept their word. They read what everyone wanted. They read they wanted Shenmue 3. There was a lot of people saying they wanted the Trails games. Look, mysteriously, they helped Xseed out and brought Trails of Cold Steel over. People wanted Suikoden. They helped brought Suikoden 2 over. And so many other games. Gear which is the only one that hasn't had any information brought back. It's Yakuza 5.
Yeah, they're still working on that probably. They
And
said summer.
they said that's gonna appear out of nowhere. So, and that's a game I'm definitely not gonna ignore. So,
That's true, actually. Yeah, I'm not really. I tried four. I couldn't really get into it, but
yeah.
that's coming as well. That's a good point. That should be coming out in the summer as well. Which,
So
if they drop that in August, I think that's the best before the entire until it gets buried under all the releases. So
yeah. Of course, we're of course part of the niche crowd. We enjoy these niche games. Like in terms of like the main sort of line of gamers of the most popular games. The biggest battle at the end of the year is going to be Call of Duty, Black Ops, and Fallout 4 because they're actually getting released between a week of each other. And I have my feelings that Fallout 4 is just going to dominate. Yeah.
yeah, of course, yeah. For me, it's just that guilty pleasure. I play with my
Yeah.
nephew, play that a lot, so
Yeah.
I just pick it up and I play it in bursts, and it's just there on my PS4, and it's sitting there, and it's it's like going to a popcorn blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
You just do that, and I'm at peace with that. But it's crazy enough. Where I thought it was going to be a very relaxed 2015, it's gearing up to be quite a sizable,
Uh,
especially after September. It's going to be very busy. Um, so
yeah. And of course, LBX for me is coming out in November, so shit.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I feel that January will probably be very slow.
Yes.
February maybe they drop Fire Emblem Fates or Deus Ex, which they said is going to be coming out in the first quarter, maybe
I
sometime in February. So you
I
know,
have, yeah, it could be February for Fates. I'd be surprised if they don't do the same Awakening release, which is like April. But I think that'd be a bit too much because they look like they've done so much with the localization already. So you're probably right.
yeah.
It's
And
going to be,
Awakening was February in North America, by the way. So that came
yeah,
out a little bit earlier when I imported that. So it's and then there's Bravely Second. So I have a feeling that we'll have some leeway to beat some of these games when we move into the next year, and have a little bit of extra
yeah,
6, maybe 7, 8 weeks before that 2060 lineup starts getting crazy.
for sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing where Cold Steel 2 fits in in all that. So
Uh,
yeah.
I would say a year later. That would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that would be realistic, honestly. So we'll see that. But yeah, so it was a really, I would say all in all, it was a very cool E3. They gave a lot of great information for games that we're looking forward to, surprises with those games mentioning, and a lot of other games that might not necessarily be our taste, but we know a lot of people that will enjoy them. So I think all in all, it was a good E3 all around for everyone. But it could have been the best Square Enix if you just released Dragon Quest VII. And I think I'm going to end it off with that. Is there anything else you want to say, Arrow?
No, it was like I mentioned before, solid E3, lots of great things for the fans. Keep letting your voices be heard. Join on these petitions not to kill games but to release new games. Let your voices be heard because they're listening to us now. Share it on social media. It's making sense to do so. And if you are very passionate about a certain game, then jump on it, talk about it. And it looks like pretty much everything, for the most part, is becoming reality for you. So fight those battles out there, spread the good word, and enjoy the games that you're excited for that were announced or previously announced at the E3. And I'm pretty sure we'll see you guys later on for some Tokyo Game Show.
Absolutely. That'll be the next big episode coming this year. But stay tuned for any more episodes that come out before then. And until next time, guys, take it easy, enjoy your RPGs, and thanks for listening.
They were great for that time, but they have not really aged all that well. So you really got to keep that in mind. However, this announcement, though, is shocking in the fact that this will considerably bump up the fact that we will potentially see Mother 3 or Earthbound 2, if they're going to be calling it that, in the
Yeah,
future.
that was the biggest thing for me is the fact that they took a game they never released back in the day, which it was the common knowledge that Nintendo didn't want to touch anything they didn't localize back in the day. With this, the gates are open, anything's free game, and for a devout Fire Emblem fan like myself, um,
Exactly.
they have they have the GBA Virtual Console, they've got the DS Virtual Console. Nothing's stopping them from putting the Binding Blade on the GBA Virtual Console. Nothing's stopping them putting new Mystery of the Emblem on the DS one.
I'm
That's
even
what
going
I'm.
further, why not get Genealogy of Holy War as well?
Yeah, it's so funny. People ask me, why didn't you include Genealogy of Holy War? It's like because of that one scene in the game, and you can't take it out. So
Uh,
even if it's implied, it's still a very tough thing to kind of deal with when it happens in the game.
I haven't
Although
played it yet, so
it creates an awesome Game of Thrones type moment, and it really puts it out there as one of the best stories, the darkest fucking story in Fire Emblem history, that's for sure. But yeah, see, with Nintendo, with that, they wouldn't know what to do with that. So, and Thracia is a diabolically hard strategy RPG. So, that too would be taken into consideration. So, those would be the two hardest Fire Emblem games to pretty much localize. But we'll see
yeah,
what
but
happens.
I don't see any need at all to do the original on the Famicom because that's remade on the DS. I don't see a
Yeah.
need to do Mystery of the Emblem because there's new Mystery of the Emblem. And Gaiden,
Yeah.
well, yeah, let's not talk about Gaiden that much. But
Yeah.
it boosts the chances not only for Mother 3, which it would be a fantastic win to see Mother 3 just released on the Wii U Virtual Console. It doesn't end for me there because I would still really like to see them just do a proper Mother collection or Earthbound collection and port all three on a 3DS on a cart and just treat it well. Do a nice box set release, maybe a Mr. Saturn plushie in there, and just take that risk just once, and just do something very passionate for the fans that they have been missing out on. Just these two Ness and Lucas amiibos, they're fine, but just do something special. It's very interesting to see that we have to rely on the fans like Fangamer to do like Mother handbooks, etc., which I recently picked up. But it's very interesting. This boosts the chances not only for Mother indeed, which I'm very hyped for, but indeed it also boosts the chances for Fire Emblem. I don't really know what else there could be, but especially Fire Emblem, that is definitely something I would like to see. I still have, Sacred Stones on my 3DS Ambassador program, and recently found out that that's actually not available on the 3DS. I think it is on the Wii U though, but
Yeah.
there just needs to be they need to port more of this. And isn't Radiant Dawn on Wii U Virtual Console right now?
I haven't checked lately the Wii Virtual Console on the Wii U, so I'll have to see that. That'd be silly though, because it's so
Yeah,
funny because so many people have not played Path of Radiance. I know a lot more people have played Radiant Dawn, but they didn't get their hands on Path of Radiance.
yeah,
So
exactly. So that is definitely something that I would like to see as well, is to for them to, you know, there's been a lot of increase in the Fire Emblem fan base because of Awakening. And while I really relish in that and that there are new fans coming into, uh, they need to make these older games available for them, and some of them are really ridiculously rare and difficult to find and expensive. So with Wii U Virtual Console, they're able to get a hands on them. But on the other hand, on the flip side, I do warn a lot of people that the Fire Emblem games before Awakening and maybe even before Shadow Dragon are ridiculously difficult and are
mm,
no cakewalk. There's no save points in between. There's no casual mode. You will be
no.
frustrated. So that is definitely something I always throw out there. But they should at least offer the chance, and just force them to buy it, because I still know that there's not a lot of people that do piracy and stuff. But you have the means to play all the Fire Emblem games in English now. So um, except for the newest one, but we'll get to that. So, you know, just
Mm.
having it on your systems on the Wii U and especially on the 3DS, especially maybe not Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, but just put it on there and that should be good. But I'm interested. It's good what Nintendo is doing here, and it was a nice little announcement to see Earthbound Beginnings.
And of course, around the same time, of course, not really sort of too much RPG related, but it is related to Fire Emblem. Is of course Roy made it back to Smash Brothers, which um, luckily I actually had enough to download him, and I was pretty much playing as him for like a good 2 days, and he is a great character. It's cool that they announced the Roy amiibo, and it's kind of a slap in my face because I just recently got all the Fire Emblem characters and now they're making me got one more to get eventually. So, and of course for you, of course, there's going to be the Lucas one that you can get for your mother collection. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
The amiibo craze is crazy. They announced like 15 of them. I've already decided that I really just want the Earthbound ones and I want the Fire Emblem ones,
yeah.
excluding Robin. So, I hope to get a Lucina at some point. I hope to get a Roy and then Ness and Lucas. We'll see. Um, but, it's fun that they announced them for fans and for hardcore amiibo collectors.
Yeah, and of course, RPG related, it was nice to see the World Championship, and of course, it was nice to see all the people competing. But of course, beyond that, very close in the tail of all that happening, Bethesda actually had their press conference, and a couple of things happened. I will be honest, I will be deadly honest. There was one announcement that Bethesda conference that made me roll my eyes in disgust. The fact that they want to compete with Blizzard for that Hearthstone money, and yes, they're creating a virtual online card game for the Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, that makes no sense at all. That is just absolutely ridiculous that they throw that in there. I'm not a really big fan of Bethesda anyway, so yeah, not for me.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of a little bit shameless, but I don't know. But however, they spent a good deal of time in the conference talking about Fallout 4. And when it comes to Elder Scrolls and like the later Fallout games, I don't hate them. I actually admire the dedication and the scope of those games from afar. But there's something that always happens in those games where I reach a point and then I want to play something else. And it's not because I hate the game, it's because I don't know. There's just something about them. But I do like the look of Fallout 4. I think it's a great looking world. It takes place in Boston. I think the visuals look amazing. I think what you can do in the game is amazing. You can customize all your weapons. You can customize like your power armor. You can rebuild certain settlements, and the combat system looks a lot more polished, and all around it looks fantastic. So I'm gonna consider it. I won't need to buy it because my dad's a huge fan of Bethesda, so he'll definitely get Fallout eventually. So Fallout 4, so I'll just borrow it off him if I'm ever curious.
Yeah, the thing with that is, I rolled into Fallout when Fallout 3 launched. I knew almost nothing about the game back then. I picked it up. I had fun with it for about 40 hours. I did a lot of exploration. There were some things about it that just made me cringe. Like the loot, that you can't loot everything, but the game is so centric on looting. The side quests were nice, and the game was very rough around the edges. And then I did a lot of side quests, and then I moved back into the main quest, and I was like, this is it. I was very disappointed in the end. Never picked up New Vegas, and I go into Fallout 4 just not very interested. This is one of those announcements where I know a lot of people are very happy that it's finally continuing after so many years.
Decided to throw an olive branch their direction with the official release of Mother 1 on Virtual Console. And
Wow, just
yeah,
that blew me away. That was quite a surprise, but yeah, no, go for it.
well, of course, it for anyone that's played Earthbound Zero, it's kind of lessen or blow, but more Mother fans essentially want more people to play the series, and with this, um, that can happen. And of course, with a system that's sort of slightly starving for games like the Wii U, it's just a nice little entry where it's a game that the general public haven't had access to, and with the Wii U, they can now play it. So, pretty cool.
Yeah,
What's really funny is that was kind of one of the first games we played for our quote unquote weekly challenge back in the early days of Rpgibberish, and I think I got like 8 hours in, and something else drew me away. But like, I have a feeling if I downloaded that for the Wii U, I'd probably be able to beat it because mostly any virtual console game I seem to download on my Wii U, I beat. So I think that's the way I'm gonna do it.
yeah, no, exactly. I remember that was one of the weekly challenges, and over the years, I remember having fun playing it. Um, but I, when it was announced, I was very interested for two reasons. Of course, people were now able to play it, and but the other thing that I said immediately was, this is going to be it's going to be interesting because a lot of people will get hyped up to play more than just Earthbound on the Virtual Console, but Mother 1 or Earthbound Beginnings, or even Earthbound Zero, if you want to call it by the fan translator's name, it is not a fantastically well polished game. It is a very archaic
Yeah.
Famicom RPG, and I have a feeling that Nintendo still left the very crude encounter rate and low experience drop rates intact, which when I played Earthbound Zero, the ROM came built in with experience multiplier. So I believe it was 2 times or even 4 times multiplier, which made going through the game a lot more faster and a lot more fun without having to go through that very rough retro Famicom grind that is in a couple of games. Like I can't stand the original Final Fantasy because that is just ridiculous on the NES. I played it on the GBA and I played it on the PS1 and PSP. That's the one I beat. But the Famicom RPGs can be pretty tough. So if you're out there listening to this and you love Earthbound, just know that you're getting into the predecessor. You're getting into a game that came out about 6 or maybe even 7 years before Earthbound, and it was still in that very early Famicom 80s RPG phase where some of these games were just.
Welcome to Rpgibberish, the podcast for RPG lovers by RPG lovers. It's that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. E3, where all these wonderful games get announced and plenty of surprises all around. And with me, with this momentous occasion, of course, is the other master of Rpgibberish, Aerodynamish. How you going, man?
Hey, welcome back, guys. Very excited to talk about some E3, some of the games, some of the RPGs. So, yeah, excited.
It was an interesting E3 because it could have been the best. I'll get into reasons why it wasn't, but it was one of the best E3s, due to one company in particular just coming out of nowhere and granting wishes, it seems. So, which I will touch upon very soon. But if I basically just to put you on the spot, what would you be your quick analysis of this E3 like compared to others before it?
I going into it, I was having the feeling that this was going to be a modest E3, just okay. Now, I will say that during the event, that I ended up watching a couple of press conferences. There were some major shockers which I was not expecting, but they are not very personal shockers for me. They're games for IPs that I've never played or I'm not very interested in. So, but I do know how much excitement that is for some of the people out there, and I relish in that because it shows that with this E3, there's you know, this sort of cult following, and the people are letting their voices be heard and they're being listened to right now. I have a feeling that companies and publishers, they try to take more risks, and I see it happening over the last couple of years. We saw it at PSX with Codens, and now we see it here with some of the announcements. I have a feeling it's looking good to get some of your favorite series back out again instead of just the cookie cutter sequels that we see for all these major franchises. And there was a surprising amount of Japanese and also RPG stuff at E3. So it was solid. I was missing that super wow factor for myself though. Maybe in a little bit, but at least we all know what's coming for me, and it's Persona. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about one game in particular on Nintendo's end in great detail because yeah, we'll talk about that more. But
Definitely.
I do want to start the beginning off. Yes, and I use that word directly because the first shots fired at E3 that really wowed everyone was certain fan base that Nintendo has neglected for a very long time.